Hey everyone, it's Professor Bethany here, and today I'm really excited to talk to you guys about a fun subject. It's one of my favorites. But first, can you guess what all of these have in common? That's right, they're crystals. So these are all different examples of crystals. Crystals are really fun and really cool to look at, and they have some really fun science behind them too. So today we're going to dig into a little bit more information about crystals. We're going to learn some cool facts about them, learn how to make them, and we'll have a DIY project where you make your own crystals. And at the very end, we'll have a quiz where you can see how much knowledge you have about crystals. So let's get started. So crystals are actually made of minerals. To understand why crystals look how they look and what they do, we need to know more about minerals. Minerals occur in nature. They are not made by humans. They're solids. They're not liquids like water or gases like air that we breathe. Minerals have an ordered atomic arrangement. The chemical elements that make up minerals are arranged in a particular way. This is why minerals can grow into crystals. Crystals are made when these minerals stack together, kind of like Legos. Depending on the shape of the mineral molecules, the crystals will stack in particular shapes. For example, take a look at this. This is selenite. Selenite is a crystal structure that forms long, thin sticks. So you can kind of see how it has long, thin lines in it. That's because it's easiest to break a crystal along the lines of the structure. But when it grows, it also grows along those lines. Sometimes crystals can be really small, but there are others that can be really ginormous. So I have a picture here I want you guys to take a look at. Do you see how tiny the person is? The crystals are ginormous. These are actually selenite crystals, just like our little one I showed you earlier. Do you see the same rectangular pattern in them? Do you guys see how it makes those little rectangles? Different crystals will have different repeating patterns based on the minerals they are made of and the environment they grow up in. This is how we can tell if a crystal is of the same type as another crystal. Now, do you think all crystals are transparent? Nope. Here, let's take a look at another one. So this one is also a crystal. It's a little bit harder to tell that it has a structured arrangement. It looks a little bit easier on this side. You can kind of see it. But this is an agate. It's from a local beach. It has a crystal structure that repeats. But because it's hard to see through, it's not as transparent. It can be a little bit hard to see that. Now, transparent means easy to see through, kind of like glass. What do you think means the opposite of transparent? Is there a word that means the opposite of transparent? That's a hard word. It's opaque. So opaque crystals you might have around the house include most metals. So if you have a metal object around your house, it's opaque, but it's also a crystal. Isn't that cool? All metals are crystals. Metals have repeating shapes in their mineral structure. Each mineral stacks, just the way it would with a crystal. Because they're opaque, we don't think of them as being crystals, but they are. When we want to describe if something is see-through or opaque, we use the word opacity. The level of opacity a crystal has will describe if it will be transparent, opaque, or somewhere in between, like this guy. So this one is a type of quartz. Quartz come in all kinds of different colors. I have one over here that's pink. This is a rose quartz. This blue one is blue quartz. If it was purple, we would even give it a special name called amethyst. You can see that, quote, quartz is mostly translucent on the top. So you see how on the top of it, you can almost kind of see through some of the very tips of the crystal. But the further down you go, the harder it is to see through. This is because it is semi-opaque. That means it's a little bit opaque the bigger the crystals get. So it gets harder to see the bigger the crystals, but the thinner the crystals, the easier it is to see through. Whew! All right, we've learned a lot about crystals today. So now that we've learned a lot about these, it's about time we start learning how to make our own crystals. We've learned that they are made of minerals. They stack on top of each other in order to grow, lining up just like Lego blocks. And we learned that they come in all kinds of different colors. They can be translucent, opaque, or somewhere in between. So let's grow our own crystals. Hey guys, so now that we've learned so much about crystals, it's time to try and grow our own. So for this, we're going to need some stuff. We're going to need some water. We're going to need something called Epsom salt. And we'll also need to be able to use a microwave and a refrigerator. So if you're younger, you might want to ask an adult to help you with this so that you don't get burned, because the water can get kind of hot in the microwave. So make sure you ask for adults' help if you're doing this and you're a little bit younger. So first off, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to get a glass jar, and I'm going to want to pour my Epsom salt in it. Now, I want the same amount of Epsom salt as I have of the water. So I'm putting in 1/4 because I have a small jar. If you have a bigger jar, you might want to put more in. So I put 1/4 a cup of Epsom salt, and then I want to put in 1/4 a cup of water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stir that around. And what I'm going to do is I want all of the salt to dissolve. That way it can grow into one big crystal. If I don't get it dissolved, it won't grow very fast. Now, the water, you want to make sure it's heated up, so it's a little hot to the touch, but you don't want it boiling. So I usually stick mine in the microwave for like 30 seconds for my 4th cup of water. If you have more water, you might need to stick it in for a little bit longer. But you don't want it boiling. If it boils, then it might be too hot, and you're going to have to let your water cool down a little bit. So you're going to have to stir for a while. It usually takes 2 to 5 minutes before enough of the crystals are dissolved. So what's happening is the water is actually breaking up the little pieces of crystal, and it's separating them into individual minerals. So then later on, what it'll do is it'll actually start stacking the crystals as the water cools. Hot water can hold lots of minerals, but cold water can only hold a few. And then it'll form big crystals really fast, which is a lot of fun. All right, so you might want to check on it and see how well it's doing. There shouldn't be very many crystals at the bottom. If there are, you're going to want to keep stirring until they're gone. It's okay if there's just a few in there, a couple here and there, but as much as you you're going to want it stirred up so they disappear. Once you get it to that point, it's okay to add some food coloring if you want. If you add no food coloring, it'll have cool, clear crystals, kind of like this color. But if you want to add some food coloring, it'll turn the color of the food coloring. So I'm going to add some red in there. I think I'm just going to add 1 drop. I just want a nice light pink crystal. Ooh, that one kind of looks like watermelon. That's pretty cool. So then I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator, and I'm going to leave it there overnight. It usually takes 2 to 3 hours before crystals start forming, but if you leave it overnight, they can get kind of big. So we're going to go ahead and leave this overnight, and then we'll come back and see what we've grown. All right, so I've gone ahead and I pulled mine out. Now there was a lot of water in here. I couldn't see what my crystals looked like, so I poured the water out, and then I can see all those cool crystals. Do you guys see them? Now these are Epsom salt crystals, so they're not really strong, not like sugar crystals, which get really hard. These ones are pretty soft, so they break really easy. So if you want, you can touch yours, but they might break a little, and that's okay. You don't want to leave them in the water, though, because the temperature of the water in the fridge was a lot colder. If you leave them out, then your crystals will start dissolving and turning back into a mineral water solution. So you want to make sure you dump all the water out, and then you can enjoy your crystals for a long time, and they'll look really cool for quite a while. So now that we've gone ahead and we've made our crystals, I think it's about time that we start doing our crystal quiz. Doesn't that sound like fun? So the one thing I do want to tell you guys, I didn't tell you earlier, is that when we left a few of those little grains of salt, Epsom salt at the bottom of our container. Remember, we didn't dissolve quite all of them. We had a couple still remaining. Those are actually going to act a little bit like seeds, and they're going to be what the rest of the crystals grow on. So that's one of the reasons that you can see my crystal is really tight and solid at the bottom, because it grew really fast in the bottom, because that's where my little seeds of crystal were. And then they'll just stack on top of those and grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that's why mine looks like this. So when you're doing your crystals, it always helps to have some crystal seeds. If your salt all the way dissolved in your water, and when you pull it out of the fridge, it doesn't look like anything grew, you might just need to add a couple more pieces of Epsom salt, and those will act like seeds. All right, so I think we're all set. Let's go ahead and do our crystal quiz. All right, guys, so you are well on your way to becoming crystal experts. Are you guys ready for this crystal quiz? Well, here's how we're going to play it. I'll read you guys the questions, and I'll put them on the screen, and then I'll also list the possible answers. You can pick whichever answer you want, A, B, C, or D. After 5 seconds, I'll read you guys the answer. If you need longer to answer the question or to think about it, feel free to just pause the video and then hit play when you've decided on an answer. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Here's your first question. Number 1, what are crystals made of? Are they made of A, pixie dust, B, plants, C, minerals, or D, metal? The answer is minerals. Some minerals contain metals, but not all crystals have metal in them. Clear diamonds are crystals made of just carbon, no metal at all. The word mineral can include things that are made of metal, only a little metal, or no metal at all. So that's why the answer is mineral. Number 2, crystals are the same mineral stacked and repeating what? Or is it A, repeating patterns, B, repeating Legos, C, repeating crystals, or D, repeating orange juice? The answer is patterns. Crystals are made of minerals that stack in repeating patterns. They're not made of Legos, but they do stack a lot like Lego bricks. All right, this next one's tricky, so take your time. Number 3, crystals come in what different colors? A, clear. B, only green and purple. C, any color but brown. Or D, any color at all, even black. The answer is any color, even black. Crystal just refers to the shape of repeating patterns. It can be clear, pink, brown, or even black. Black and brown diamonds are very valuable crystals, even if they are not colors we think about crystals being very often. All right, here's a hard one. Are you guys ready? When talking about crystals, what word means hard to see through? What word means hard to see through? Is it A, transparent, B, opaque, C, binoculars, or D, solid? The answer is opaque. Transparent crystals are see-through like glass. The more opaque they are, the harder it is to see through them. Completely opaque crystals don't even allow light to shine through them, like a piece of aluminum foil or a gold bar. They don't allow any light to be seen through them. All right, last one, guys. Are you ready? Number 5. What do we call a tiny piece of crystal that is used to grow a bigger crystal? Is it A, sand, B, mustard, C, a seed crystal, or D, a crystallizer? It's C, a seed crystal. Like a tiny seed that grows into a big plant, A seed crystal helps start the process of growing a large crystal. You don't always need to have a seed crystal for it to grow to a big crystal, but it does help it go a lot faster. Wow, guys, great job. I hope you guys have learned a lot. You did a great job completing that quiz and working so hard. Hopefully you guys have some chance to make your own crystals. And when you are making your own crystals, feel free to test and explore. Sometimes crystals can grow under different conditions. Maybe you can test and see which way you can make them grow faster, or if some ways make them grow slower. Do blue crystals grow bigger than green crystals? Test and find out. Try different ways of making the crystals. Add more water, add more salt, see what makes them grow better. And send us your results at the Kenai Community Library. We'd love to get messages from you on our Facebook page or over the phone telling us about how you did with your crystals and what cool things you've done. Have a great week. Hope to see you guys soon.